Hey everyone, Megan Olivi and Brett Okamoto inside the Honda Center. I feel like the fight's just ended and they're already halfway done ripping everything down and putting the ice up for the hockey games.
Yep.
But Brett, we have to start this conversation with the main event. We know Francis Ngannou pretty well. We both live in Las Vegas. We see him train often. We do interviews with him. Were you expecting to see that evolution of his game in this fight against Ciryl Gane?
No, I can't lie to the good people watching our YouTube channel and say that I expected him to wrestle in this fight. I thought it was a possibility, just because I know that Francis has been working on his wrestling a lot over the last few years. I mean, I remember him telling me and his coach, Eric Nixick, telling me that they thought he might do a little bit of wrestling against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Instead, he sprinted across the octagon in that fight and knocked him out in 20 seconds. But he has some offensive wrestling. They were aware of that. And then, of course, when he was facing Stipe again, that was a big focus. So that was a question mark with Ciryl. And if you're trying to track down a very elusive guy, one good way to do it is to put him on his back, right? So I thought it was a possibility. I didn't think that it would be the determining factor in the fight, which it was. I mean, it was all Francis biting down on his mouthpiece with an injured knee, as what he told you after the fight, and doing it when he had to, because he was clearly down 2-0 after those first 2 rounds against Gane.
Yeah, I don't know the extent of the ACL damage, but he also tore his MCL, and it was about 3.5 weeks out before the fight, so he said that was on his mind. He was worried about his approach. But when I asked you off camera when we were coming up here to the set, I said, did you like the main event? And you said you thought it was the most impressive performance he's had.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as impressive as knocking guys out is all the time, it's more impressive to me when you show something else, when you got to go to a second game. And, this was a surprise. We all thought coming in that Francis has got to get it done in the first 2 rounds. He was down 2-0 after the first 2 rounds. You start to think, man, how ugly is this going to get for Francis Ngannou? Then he lands that big takedown, and you think, wow, this might be a momentum shift. Gane does a great job of getting up. And you're thinking, at least I was thinking, well, dang, was that his chance? That was his chance to turn the momentum around. He kept finding ways, little nuanced ways, to get into top position. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't going to make his highlight reel, which has plenty of material already.
Sure.
But it was the biggest win of his career by far.
Totally agree. In terms of the futures of both of these gentlemen, let's say that contract negotiations go well and Francis Ngannou continues here with the organization where he is the heavyweight champion. Who does he face? And Ciryl Gane was the interim champ. Where does he go now?
I think for Francis, it has to be Jon Jones, right? I mean, and it should have been Jon Jones after he beat Stipe, but the promotion tried. I mean, I think, sometimes we forget that they wanted Jon Jones, but they ran into problems with Jon Jones' contract. Jon didn't fight at all last year. So, I mean, you got to get Jon on board too. I mean, him tweeting that he wants to fight and actually stepping in there are two different things. But he has expressed that he wants to fight. He was active on Twitter again tonight during the fight. It just seems like it's time, right? It seems like all parties want it.
Sure.
Francis definitely wants to box, and we're going to have to hear sort of how bad he wants to box and the time frame of when he wants to box. But hey, if they come to a deal on a new term and he stays in the UFC, well, then you have an obligation to defend that heavyweight championship, and it's got to be against Jon Jones. And for Gane, I think it's Stipe, right? I've been talking about Stipe Miocic very much since he lost to Francis Ngannou. I mean, it's been a long layoff for Francis coming into this title fight. It's the same layoff for Stipe because he has not fought since. And I know that he wants to get back in there with a title fight. I think he's got to win one before that. And hey, if he watched this fight, he's thinking, hey, I kind of think that I could do that to Ciryl Gane. So I think that's a good fight for them. A good fight for Stipe and a good fight for Ciryl Gane to prove, hey, I can learn from this and improve from it as well.
I actually love your matchmaking here because I say yes to both of those matchups because I know everyone is waiting for my opinion on them. They're not. Let's talk about the co-main event, though, because there was a title on the line. This was a trilogy, and you thought, okay, it's the third fight. We're going to be done with the matchup now, and I don't feel like we're done. I think we will eventually, whether it's right now or down the road, see them fight again. But Deiveson Figueiredo came out victorious against Brandon Moreno. It was a unanimous decision. A lot of people thought Brandon did enough to get it done, but not the judges. In terms of your scorecard, how did you have it?
I had a 3-2 for Brandon Moreno. But, that's why the fight was so good, is that it was close. It was close, and there were momentum shifts. And even if you look at that third round where Deiveson dropped him, Brandon was winning every second of that round up until the point in which he was dropped. It's hard to score a fight like that. So It doesn't surprise me that, all three judges had it the same way. But looking on, Twitter, people who I respect, people who follow the sport obviously very closely, it seemed to split the community a little bit. But yeah, man, what a fight. I had a 3-2 for Moreno, but I wasn't bothered by the scoring.
Yeah, no, I would agree because I think it was just so close. I just love their fights. every time they step into the octagon together, something happens, and it's these magical bouts that we're all treated to. You know, I know Brandon Moreno is not anybody who gives up or puts their head down, you know, at a loss. Deiveson Figueiredo said, hey, I'll fight him in Mexico. But realistically, with the landscape at 125 pounds, is it Pantoja? Is it Askar? I mean, who really is next in line? And how long does Brandon wait in the wings?
Yeah, I think it's the winner of Askarov and Kai Kara-France. I think I'm down for a fourth fight, which surprises me because I don't even necessarily usually like immediate rematches. And now I'm talking about immediate fourth fight. I mean, we have no breaks in this at all, but it's not fair to the rest of those guys. They are deserving of it. I do think that Brandon, you know, the first fight, had Deiveson not gotten a point deducted, he would have won. So I do think you need to move on from it for a second. And I think by doing so, you actually help it, because if it happens again right away, man, let these guys focus on someone else. Give them just a mental breather from each other. And I think that would actually result in a better fourth fight. That whenever this fourth fight happens, it will be better if it happens a little down the road than if it were to happen right now. But hey, if they got a date in Mexico and they want to go take it there this summer, I will watch the fourth fight. But I do think that they need to switch it up. I think that they will switch it up. I don't think we'll see the fourth fight right away.
Okay, fair enough. You know, Deiveson is a guy who moved and picked up his whole life and went to Arizona. He said now he wants to bring his wife and his baby there. He wants to make his life there. When you were watching him fight here, did he look different to you? Could you see those? Oh, those are the changes that have been implemented on him by his new team.
Well, you know, we were wrong about the way we thought that the main event would go in terms of, you know, what it would look like and what would the difference makers be. We were right in the sense of that weight cut changed Deiveson Figueiredo. Was he a vastly different fighter? You know, the very low leg kicks, those were Henry Cejudo-esque. I mean, I remember those from Henry Cejudo days. That's kind of how he chopped down Demetrius Johnson, how he chopped down Dominic Cruz. You know, that's kind of a Henry Cejudo staple. Yeah, I think Cejudo is probably a great coach. And
sure.
And Deiveson was drastically improved. But I think the big story of Davison's performance here is that he made 125. In fact, he made 124.
Second on the scale.
He looked great doing it. It looked like he had energy. I mean, you go back to Friday morning before he steps on that scale, and you and I might be having the conversation of, I don't really think he even belongs in this weight class. Now, all of a sudden, he's weighing 124 pounds. So that was the big takeaway here, is that if he can nail his weight cut, then he can fight a cardio guy like Brandon Moreno for 5 rounds. That was very impressive.
Yeah, it totally was. We look forward to seeing what's next for all 4 of these athletes. We feel very fortunate to have witnessed those title fights here in California. Brett, as always, it's a pleasure.
It is. It really
Thanks.
is.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.